never say you were wrong.
No.
You leave me alone. You're sorry, you're lonesome and scared. Well, I say
That's so gross.
you can just come back home. Here's a quarter. Cause someone
I'm not enjoying this. I'm not. It's freaking me out a lot.
Someone who listens.
I don't like that any better. Can you make this stop? We can't unplug him, can we?
Welcome to the Refined Life Podcast. My name is Big Vinny Mac. And to my right, I got a guy named Jared Blake. And right in front of me, we got the suitor named Jeffrey.
The suitor named Jeffrey.
And we're gonna talk to you about stuff you never wanted to hear about. But when we're done, we hope you'll give us a like, 5 stars, and shout us out at the Refined Life Podcast. Okay.
I'm not sure what the best intro has been to date, but that was pretty stellar.
It's gotta be
That
there
was,
somewhere.
that's got to be on up there.
I live with that. So it's on the road.
We've been together for 2 days in a casino, bro. All right, so this is a Refined Life Podcast. That was the intro. That's what we're going with. So Jared has pressured me into talking about myself.
It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to get Vanny to talk about himself or tell everybody what he's been up to. But at this, I just think that this is a really cool thing because Vinny wrote a book, and it's not a big book because it's Vinny, but but this book was based off of a song, and I really wanted to show you guys how this goes because the first time I saw him do it, I think he had Miss Tennessee turning pages for him as he sang this song, and I just thought it was super, super cool. And I wanted him to talk about it and talk about why he did it, what brought it up. And
Well, I will gladly take this time and this stage and this platform to talk about me. Because guess what? I love me some me. Randy Moss.
that's probably why
me.
Toby signed you in it.
Because
he was all about him too. And
want to talk about me, want to talk about I, want to talk about number one, oh my, me, my, what I think, what I like, what I know, what I want, what I see.
that's why he's perfect for a podcast.
I like talking about you usually, but occasionally I want to talk about Vinny, okay? The reason I love this book so much is because I wrote it. And I'm awesome. It's one of those things that, I'm not sure there'll ever be another piece of literature that will ever be more amazingly created than this.
It is in depth.
It's probably just second to the Bible, to be honest with you. So,
but a much easier read.
Yeah.
So you should get a copy of it.
I did take out the thous and thouts and thous and those things. But anyways, no, this came about because we were writing with a girl named Sue Sandberg, me and Butter, back in the day. And she was known she had a couple of Gin Blossom songs. If you remember the Gin Blossom, she wrote a few of those. But she was one of the original Fly Girls on In Living Color.
Oh.
And through that, she ended up landing a role writing a lot of the original music that was in any of the Fairley Brothers movies. So the fact that we got to hook up with her and write the way we did was really cool because we were kind of being known for this rocking the beer gut and all that. And so she was very interested because of a woman named Allison Jones, who's huge in the music industry. Connected us and said, y'all need to write together. So we go in fully expecting like we're going to write a Gin Blossom song, or whatever. But the comedy just happened to come out and it was really cool because as we sit there and started talking to her, I don't even know what got us talking about bullies, But then all of a sudden Butter goes, yeah, I got bullied. And that's what became this book, because of his story about his bully. That was just so funny that we had to write a song about it. And I'm not going to give it away to you till I sing it and show you the pictures. Do you want me to sing it now?
I think we should.
Okay.
I want to see where this goes after this.
I love it.
Back in the 3rd grade, standing at home plate, I kicked the ball as hard as I could. We had a rule and we always stuck with it. Whoever kicked it out had to go on and get it. I slowly walked over under the slide. I started shaking, scared for my life, 'cause the State Road Elementary School bully was staring me right in the face. So I grabbed the ball, and as I ran away, the last thing I heard was, today is your lucky day. There's a bully running around the school. We must go to the 2nd verse to find out. Chocolate milk in my hand as I started to stand in the lunchroom that afternoon. Heard this voice from behind saying, it's almost time. I didn't know what I was gonna do, 'cause the State Road Elementary School bully was staring me right in the face. So I grabbed my books, and as I ran away, the last thing I heard was, today is your lucky day. Now this bully's been running around the school all day, wreaking havoc on us. It's almost time to meet up with who the bully really is. 10 after 2, outside the school, walking down to where we get picked up. Felt this hand on my shoulder. I knew it was over when the bully pinned me right against the bus. And I said, Heather, please don't hurt me. Then the State Road Elementary School bully planted a kiss right on my face. So embarrassed and blushed as I ran on the bus. The last thing that I heard her say is, I've told you today's gonna be your lucky day. Your lucky day.
I love it.
So, very, very cool. So I still want to know, because I've never asked you this, is that really how the story ended?
That is really how the story ended. That's the true story.
Like, he ran from this girl all day.
All day long.
And she kissed him on the cheek.
And she kissed him on the cheek. Allegedly, according to Butter, this is the real story. It wasn't just like the 1 week. This was like, he was always terrified. Like, this girl was like picking at him, you know. And then one day she just lays a big old smacker right on his cheek, you know. And he was like, huh, you know. And so the whole time he thought this girl wanted to beat him up, because I don't know if you've seen Butter, but he's a smaller guy, you know. He's about 5, but he's very athletic. Very, you know, he's wiry, you know.
He's got a lot going on right now too, right?
Yeah, he's always. I mean, Butter's always into something. You can't ever tell what he's going to be doing. But you know, it was one of those deals where we were kind of talking. I talked about being, you know, I was 300 pounds by the time I was in 8th grade. You know, I got made fun of a lot as a kid for being the fat kid, until probably about 4th grade, when I realized, like, wait a second.
I'm bigger than all of you.
Bigger than you are. I'm higher on the food chain. Get in my belly, you know. So once I realized that I was bigger, then kind of the to my face and calling me names and stuff stopped. But still, you know, you hear them snickering and making fun of you, you know, behind your back. But it actually led me to why does the bully bully? You know, and that was what I originally wanted to write a song about, was a bully. It was like, why does the bully bully? Because he's being bullied. You know, most of the time, these, you know, you don't know what's going on in their house. And their old saying is hurt people hurt people. And so that was my first original thought on this is like, if that bully is, you know, the person that's being physically a bully, what people consider it physical, right? Back then it was like, oh, it's physical. Now it's like social media. But back then it was physical. So I got considered the bully, even though I was really just taking up for myself where they call me Fatty and Lardo and, you know, tons of other names. I finally just got tired of hearing that. And I was like, wait a second, you know, I can kick your butt. So I did. And then they were like, well, you're just being a bully. You're bigger than they are. I'm like, yeah, but their words hurt me. I know they say sticks and stones will break your bones and words never hurt you, but that's not true.
Not true.
Words hurt you probably worse than the physical thing because, you know, words last with you forever, whereas the physical pain goes away, you know.
Well, and once again, you just brought up like the social media. We're seeing that now.
Yeah.
You got your butt kicked growing up and you're like, well, I won't say that around that guy anymore or whatever. But like the way it is now, I mean, you're watching our suicide rate go up. You're watching depression, anxiety, all these things. And these kids that we didn't have before, you can't help but think how much does this have to do with social media, you know?
Well, and you know, thinking about it, it's like, you know, how are you going to write this song, you know, about a bully and, you know, turn it into a kid's book? And of course, the ideal originally wasn't to be a kid's book. But then when Butter told his story, he's like, man, he goes, I remember my first bully. And then he tells us his story. And we literally just took it, made it rhyme. I mean, it was Butter's story. He literally said, yeah, there's, you know, this is the exact thing that happened. He's like, you know, he goes, basically, I kicked the ball over. I mean, this is all real, you know? And I just thought I was like, why would we not just write that? And we get done writing it that day and we made it sound, you know, like it does. And it sounds like a kid's song. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn that into a kid's book. One of these days. Then I'm paying attention to it for the next 14 years or somewhere like that, you know? And then I had my first
I thought
son.
you were a doer.
Well, I was, but
this is where he's grown.
But well, not even just where I've grown. It's just that when you don't have any kids, making a kid's book doesn't seem that important to you. You're like, oh, I'd make a good kid's book. Maybe I'll do it. Then I have a son. And I start buying kids' books. And some of them are awesome. Like anything from Dr. Seuss is pretty awesome. Takes you a minute to get it down. But once you get the flow down, it's like your first ever rap album that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
I like hop, pop, I like the hop on top of pop, you know. Him, Jim is after him, you know. He, me, he's after me, you know. Him, Jim's after him. All ball, we all play ball. Ball fall off the wall, you know. Hop on pop. Yeah. Hey, what does that say? Ask me tomorrow, but not today. He, me, we, three peeps. Can't remember the words. Anyways, Green Eggs and Ham is my all-time favorite kids book because I just think it's such a well-written, cool book, you know.
It is.
But some of these books, I'm like, oh, everybody, this is a suggestion. I get it. I'm like, the hell did I just read?
Yeah.
I was like, and why would any kid want to see this book? Somehow it ends up being one of the favorite books. I don't know, but it's why they've sold millions. And I was actually sitting there, and I was like, man, I said, some of these books just are not good. I was like, somebody needs to write some better books. And my wife, unbeknownst to her, said, didn't you say you had a kid's book? Why don't you write one? And I was like, challenge accepted. I already wrote one. That's going to cost you $5,000. It's going to cost us $5,000. Well, by the way, thanks for challenging me. Now we just lost money out of our bank account, you know? So I felt that challenge and I said, you know what? I should do that because the thing is actually good. I thought it was well done. So I went out and I found this guy, Adam's Art Box. I'm trying to think of what his, hand him to me. Hand me that book. Make sure I get his name right because I don't want to say it. Adam Michaels. So Adam is an artist. He goes around to like all the different Comic Cons and he draws, you know, all these different characters and he still does like the watercolor. So it was important to me. I'm like, man, I absolutely love the fact that, you know, the stuff you do looks like the pages we used to read when we were kids.
Yeah.
And so I said, I want you to do my book. And he took care of me on the pricing. I mean, it ended up, like I said, all out the door. It ended up costing me about $5,000 to get everything, you know, drawn, everything formatted, get the first print done, the whole thing. It was about $5,000 out the gate. But I love the fact that he actually took time. I have all the originals of the actual watercolored pictures. He sent them to me. So I have all the original watercolored individual pictures that make this book. And I just love that. And of course, he made the logo because eventually I want this to be a whole series, The Adventures of Big Vinny and Butter. I don't know if you've ever been around Butter. I mean, you've been around me. I'm a cartoon character. Butter's the same way. You never know what's going to happen with Butter, you know. One minute he might be climbing on the top of a water tower, and the next minute he might be giving you life lessons. You just never know. We should have had Butter here for this episode, actually. But decided to turn it into it. I called him and Sue, and I was like, "Hey, I want to turn this into a kid's book." They're like, "Cool, go do it." So I was like, "All right," because I was hoping they might say, "Hey, we want to join you in that," and here's a third of the money. But that did not happen. But I went ahead and made it, and of course we have an agreement, where I get all my money back first before any splits and stuff happen and all that, and they've been great about that. Now they love the book and they're into it. And of course, I think when you first say it, you're like, "Oh, kid's book, what are you going to do?" But then as it starts to come together and it starts to look cool, I think everybody kind of come on board and gets it now. So Sue, she works with the Hallmark Channel, so she's got a lot of connections there. So as we figure out this whole, you know, situation of how we want to push it, whether we want to try and go get a big publisher like, was it Golden Books or one of them, or if we just want to do it ourselves and just sell it ourselves, that's a decision we're still in the process of making. But the thing is one of the reasons I wanted to do it is because I wanted my kids to see that, hey, I see things through. This is something that I created that never goes away. Like my kids own this now. My family owns it now. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe I make a little bit happen with it. Maybe one of these days my son makes everything happen with it, or my daughter makes everything happen with it, or maybe it's just something that meant something to me and it lives in my family and my friends, forever and whatever. But it's just the fact that I actually got it to completion and it was actually good, except for the one misspelled word in there that I missed on. Not just me. Like 6 people proofread this thing and didn't see the misspelled word. But did you see it when he was going
did
through?
not.
See? Oh, I think about singing another song, but I guess you can have my guitar. Anyway, so the cool thing about the book is I've gotten some cool opportunities with it already. I've already started going out, reading it to schools, and I take copies. A lot of times I give out a bunch of copies because I'm a big old
giver,
softy and giver. I'm a giver. And normally I'm, what I was going to say.
Well, say it, damn it.
Normally I'm hard when I give it. But, no, but I go out there and I read the book.
What an appropriate time for that joke.
He told me not to say it. He told me to say it.
You got to remember.
You don't have to do whatever someone tells you to, Vinny.
You got to remember we're 50 and not intelligent. We have not made it.
And not
so
successful.
We got to go there.
Yeah. The good thing is I don't ever want to feel like I made it. I always want to feel like I'm reaching for a new thing.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like I've had success in a lot of different things in life. This is one of them. I don't know. It's like, what is your determining factor of success? To me, it's successful because I wrote something, I went through and I saw it through, had the vision and created it.
Yeah.
Now, if it ever turns into millions of dollars or sell millions of books or win an award or any of that, that doesn't matter. My kids saw that I saw something through to creation into a physical product that could be sitting in your hand that you can read, that you can share forever.
Yeah.
There's, almost 200 copies are out there now, circling around. So there's always going to be somebody, maybe nothing happens with it and there's only 200 copies of it ever. And one of these days when I'm, dead and gone and somebody realizes the greatness of Big Vinny, they'll be worth millions of dollars in one of these books, autographed copy. But created something that's going to live forever. That's there, that my kids own. That to me is a success. Success. I'm 50 and I'm not creative. The cool thing I think about it is I think it sparks a lot of different things for you because you're like, man, if I did that, now all of a sudden it's going to be turned into an animation. And it's in the process of that now.
Yeah.
Jared has got his books coming that he's creating, and it's like we started to realize, like, hey, there's something here that we love about this. And his book comes from a different perspective of lessons and the things that he's lived through and all that. He ends up putting my character in there and my wife's character in there and his wife's character in there and his dog is in there and he's in there. It follows a little bit different path. And so I think it's cool to know that, like, man, we're going to create these things that we're going to pass down, and who knows if it changes somebody's life, gives somebody hope, makes people understand that whatever they come up against in life, they can overcome it. Maybe it's a kid from Perry County, from my hometown, that says, man, I want to write a kid's book. Well, nobody from here has ever wrote it. Well, yeah, there was this guy named Big Vinny. He wrote a kid's book.
Yeah.
And then they say, man, I believe in myself. I believe I can because somebody from here already did it,
Yeah.
It's interesting, too, because you probably 4 or 5 years ago that you brought up the idea about the book to me. And we were talking, I forget how we came about it, because I was in, where do they do all the Sundance? We're doing Sundance Film Festival.
Yeah,
This guy comes up to me and we start talking just out of the blue. He was asking me about what we were doing there, and I was like, "Oh, we're doing this with the sponsors, yada yada yada." And he said, "What do you guys do with the sponsors?" And I told him about the Live to Be program in schools, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then my wife said something about me being on The Voice, and he's like, "Oh, you're a singer?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What kind of music?" And I said, "Country." And he was like, "You're not gonna believe this." And it turned out that he was a #1 book author, children's book author, and he was like,
Yeah.
"I just started writing a story about a country music singer that goes around to schools, talks to kids."
Wow.
And I was like, "What?" And so that's what started the whole conversation. And I think I was talking to you about it or something one day, and you're like, "I wrote a kid's book one day," and I was like, "Where is it?" You know, and like, and then there it is.
Yeah.
And
well, when you have a kid, you got a whole lot of different. You got a different motivation.
Yeah.
When you have a kid, I had 6, so I didn't have time to do anything else.
You didn't have that. But yeah, it's been a cool thing. Like I said, the opportunities that come. One of the coolest opportunities that came from this book. A buddy of ours, Josh Likens, that you've met, he does all of our silent auction stuff and all that. He was doing an event for Imagination Library. Well, Imagination Library is Dolly Parton's charity that gives books to all the kids that are born in Tennessee, and I'm not sure if it's different hospitals or what, but my son was born at Williamson Medical, and from the day he's been born, every single month up until he was 5 years old, he got a book every single month from Dolly Parton, and it's got the Imagination Library on there. Well, he's received that. It's just part of when you were born in that hospital, you get it. I had the chance to donate like 40 of my books to their fundraiser event that they had here in town. And I autographed them all, and they sold them for like $40 a piece, and they kept all the proceeds or whatever to go back into the charity, So it wasn't a megaton. It wasn't like I donated thousands of dollars, but they were able to sell those books and put that money back towards something that's really been a cool thing for me and my family, and I would love to see that last forever. And my hopes is one day that, as this thing, evolves into its next deal, is that it'll be one of the books that Dolly Parton sends out, or, the charity sends out, the Imagination Library sends out, is like, hey, here's a cool book,
Yeah.
And it comes with a song, the song, we're going to put it out as Trailer Choir because it's me and Butter, but we'll put it out. It'll be available online, and we'll put a QR code on there. You can scan it and go directly to the Spotify link or whatever, Apple Music, whatever it is you use. And we can actually be the ones reading the song to your kids.
I love it.
One of the other things that really ignited this was, and you may remember this probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago, was pre-COVID. So no, it was in the middle of COVID because I was moved into my new house. So that happened in COVID, but we were, oh yeah, that was right. It was 2020. It was 2020 was when the bomb went off downtown Nashville, right? Christmas of 2020.
Was it 2020 or was it 19? I feel like it was before COVID.
No, it was after COVID.
It was during COVID?
I was moved into my house when it went off.
Huh.
And we didn't go that year because my wife had COVID. Is the reason we didn't go to her parents for Christmas. It was 2020. So she has the vid, and we stay home for Christmas. And one of the things I did, the night before Christmas, I set my son down in my chair, and I was like, man, I've got to thinking about how many kids don't have a dad to read to them. And I thought about this whole concept of how cool it would be to just have, this online, maybe it's on Facebook, and you just go live and it's just different dads reading, and a mom could get on there if it's a single mom, or even if it's not a single mom, if it's a mom that has a dad that's in the military and can't be in contact every night, but they could go on there and a dad is reading a book to their kid, before they go to bed at night. And so I thought about this idea. So I got up there and I did the night before Christmas because I love that book.
Yeah.
And I sat with my son in my big old, chair that I had. He got up in my lap and I held him in my arms, and I was like, "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." So I go through this whole thing and I read it, and it got a ton of just, people like, "Thank you for this," and it was baffling to me that like people were that excited about me reading the book to my son. But I think the spirit behind that was like, somebody tonight is not going to have a dad to read them a book, And I think we take that for granted. I didn't grow up with that. My Aunt LaWanda read me books all the time. My Aunt Wandy, love you, Aunt Wandy. She's the reason I love Green Eggs and Ham so much, because she read me these books. So when I put this out and I first started talking about it, one of the things I did was saying, thank you to my Aunt LaWanda, my Aunt Wandy, for reading me books. Now she wasn't with me every night, but I think one of the coolest things you can do is sit down and read them a story, tell them a story, do all that kind of stuff. Because I'll get emotional, as you can tell, but one of these days in the near future, Jagger is not going to have a single care in the world if I sit down and read him a book or tell him a story or anything else.
Yeah.
And when that day comes, I will be an emotional wreck. But
I don't know if that's true, because I think it's what you're creating with them.
yeah,
That's last. Because I mean, I was thinking about that same idea with my youngest Cash, but then it just changes what you're doing. So last night it turned into we were just looking at old cars and talking about this. Oh yeah, my dad had one of these, and he had one of these, and this was my first car, and like it just changes.
I mean,
you're telling different stories.
I think
though.
it's cool that it something like that
Dude,
grows.
like, you'd be proud of this, but like one of the questions he asked me last night, his girlfriend's over, and he was like, "Hey, Dad, could you talk to us about good and bad debt?" Like I was trying to tell my girlfriend about this
so much further
and interest, because he was talking about, because I was talking about housing. I was like, well, you don't necessarily pay off a house, because if you get a lower interest rate on that, you want to put that money over here where you can make higher. And he wanted to know more about. He's like, I was trying to explain to my girlfriend. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
So, it just changes what you're talking about.
I
But
don't lose
cool.
the bond. The bond just pivots.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I mean, I'm always going to be. I hope that me and my son always have this closeness that we have, that we're always best buddies. I'm always going to be his dad first. I got to be your dad before I can be your friend. Like, I got to teach you right from wrong. I got to let you know what the boundaries are and teach you how to respect other people and all that. But I also always want to be able to be your buddy. Like, I want you to feel like you can come talk to me about anything. Like, I never feel like if I have anything going on in my life, I never feel like I couldn't come talk to Jared and pour it on him. And whether I'm right or wrong or whatever.
Or whether I'm listening or not.
Yeah, he don't even have to listen. I mean, a lot of times I'll solve my own problem before I even give him a chance to talk. I'll be like,
which is good, because I didn't hear what he said.
Yeah, because he was literally building a shed. But I mean, one of these days when you think about it, your kid is going to put on that Superman outfit for the last time.
That's right.
Not until he gets an adult, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, I'm back into Halloween again because I want to go see some girl dressed in a sexy bee outfit." Whatever. But at some point, that those things change, and so I do want to be able to pivot with him, like what he's talking about. But I don't ever want to get to the stage in my life where that ends, and I'm like, man, I should have done that more. I don't want to have that regret of like, man. And I think a lot of dads have that. And I'm not saying moms don't too, but I think dads, we put ourselves in a position a lot of times where like, dude, we're the income earner. We got to go out there and do it. Not that saying women don't earn income. I know everybody earns income now, but I think in a guy's mind that grew up the way I grew up is, this is your responsibility. No matter how much, what's going on, if everything starts to fall apart, you're the one that has to go fix it. You know what I mean? So I think so many times when the dad is putting that pressure on himself, then he gets home and he feels like, well, I've done my part.
Yeah.
I've been working all day. I've busted my butt. And then they get, 30 years later in their life or 20 years, in whatever the kids, and they're like, wait, my kids graduate. I mean, I feel like I didn't get to do these things with them. And so for me, I just don't ever want to have that. When I get older, I don't want to have that regret of like, man, I wish I would have done more, or I wish I would have spent this time or that time. And there's times I'm tired. I'm like, oh, my mind is fried from just going all day and being on and being Big Vinny. And then I get home and my son's like, hey, Dad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whew. And then I'm like, dude, suck it up and go in there and be his best buddy and listen to everything he's got to tell you about school that day and give him the attention that he deserves because he's excited to see you.
Yeah.
And I always want my son to feel excited to see me. Now, he does tell me, Dad, you always say no. I'm like, that's because your mom always says yes, and I have to be the one to be the bad guy. It's just the way it is. I don't know what to tell you.
You bringing up being his dad first, right from wrong, boundaries, things like that, respect.
Yeah.
I think Jared's probably gone through this too since we both have children that are a little bit older. But one thing I'm realizing as my daughters are getting older is I think the reason we'll maintain the bond is because of the respect we earn by being the parent first instead of friend first. Because that's what I'm kind of seeing with my daughters right now and this isn't meant to be negative towards their mother, but she's always led friend first. And now they're struggling within their relationship because the kids become older and they start realizing what's more important and what should happen first, and priorities just become different as they get older. And so I think it's super important that you are father first.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to maintain that bond as he gets older, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now on the flip side of that, I feel like that I went through that phase, and because mine are a little bit older than yours as well, I then hit this phase where they start pulling away again, and it really, really hurt. But then I realized the reason they're pulling, I was just talking to my dad about this today, and he's like, well, you did that. It's like when you start going against what your parents have taught you, which inevitably is going to happen to the majority, you automatically pull away from your parents too. Because you don't want to talk to your parents about what you've been doing.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk to them about the fact that you took out a credit card. You don't want to talk to them about you getting drunk. You don't want to talk to them about, a lot of different things. You just naturally pull away from people when you feel like that you're in the wrong.
Well, this is also why we all
or you're going against your
learn
teaching,
from making our own mistakes, right? Like you can hope your kids learn from your mistakes, but the bottom line is they're going to learn from making the mistake themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Cash about that the other day. I was like, buddy, you're doing such a good job learning from others' mistakes that I'm very curious. What are you not watching out for?
Yeah.
What's going to sneak in on you that you're going to be like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
And I think we've had talks about this over the last little bit is like, you can only do what you can do. You're gonna have things as a parent that you're gonna miss. You're gonna be teaching them these things, and there's this thing over here. And I think we can beat ourselves up as parents and be like, man, did I fail? Because this is going on in their life now. But you are having to realize, like, no, they have to learn how to deal with some of those problems themselves.
Yeah.
And that's been a struggle for me because like I want to solve all my son's problems. I don't ever want him to go through what I went through. But I also realize that the reason I am the kind of man that I am, and not saying he would ever go through the thing, but he does need to go through some struggles. I don't need to go fix things for him the second that something goes wrong. And I made that mistake in the early years with Jaggers. Like as soon as let me fix it for you, buddy, and run over there and fix it for him. Whereas I mean, like he had this truck that comes apart and it's got like a little screwdriver and all this stuff, and he would take it apart and then he couldn't figure out how to get it back together. And I'd put it right back together and he'd take it back apart and then he couldn't figure out how to get it back together. And finally, I was like, figure it out. And when I did that, he figured it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like realizing that sometimes you got to let them sit with the hurtness of why is this not the way I want it until they can figure out a way to fix it themselves. Whenever I was a helicopter, I'm still a helicopter parent, but with Jagger, I wouldn't let him try to climb up the little rock climbing wall because I was so scared he would fall. So I would kind of just hold him and let him go up the wall. With Harley, I kind of stood back a little bit more because I had seen that. Well, Jagger did get it eventually, and the first time she started to fall, or maybe she got on the first two and then she fell and then she got back up, and then she climbed it.
Yeah.
And so I learned even from just one kid to another to let them. Sometimes you got to let them fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean I'm not telling you to let them fall until they fall off the top of a monkey bars and break their arm. But what I'm saying is, falling a couple feet down and hitting their butt teaches them a lesson of like, hey, you might want to hold on and be a little bit more cautious as you're going up there next time. Yeah. You might want to plan out your steps a little bit better. And so that's something I'm still learning as a parent. I mean, obviously I've had the luxury of watching Jared raise his kids from Cash was probably what, 5, 6?
Yeah.
When I came in your life. And then, I had raised a kid from the time he was 6 to 12. So Jagger is just now 6. So I'm entering the stage that I already had experience with before Jagger. But those first 5.5 years, I had no experience in that. So I was like learning, as I went, So now I feel like I'm a lot more prepared to handle these next few years and realizing like, hey, you got to tell them like, hey, when you get home, we're going to go ahead and get your homework done. That way it's done.
That's right.
Even though I'm a firm believer that homework should not be a thing, that they should do their work at school. And then when they're home, they get to do home. And when they're at school, they do school. But that's me.
The part that grabs me in the book, and you're talking about being a friend and being a parent first, is that so much of the time you're having to force your child to do something because they don't want to do. And there's been moments that I talked to my kids that they felt like I was being a bully to them because I was making them do something. And the reality is that just like in parenting and just like that whole thing where God, is, trying to get the little teddy bear away from the little girl, and he's got this giant teddy bear behind his back that he wants to give her. This is the part that always gets me is when it came down to it, she was going to kiss him.
Yeah.
She was giving him something good. And, thinking about with my kids, there's oftentimes that they feel like I'm forcing them into something. It's like, you have no idea what I'm trying to give you though.
Right,
like This beautiful, wonderful thing is waiting on you over here. If you can just stop focusing on yourself for just a minute and just follow my lead, I'm going to take you someplace way, way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why we're trying to teach him stuff, right? Like when I'm teaching my son, the prime example, last night we're over at the Kirkpatrick's house. We're hanging out.
And he's been name dropping all.
First off, I just said
Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick.
I think I think it got to him when you said that he was 50, unimportant, not successful, and stupid.
So,
because on the last episode, he started
media following. Like,
last episode,
1,000 followers.
I have 11,400. Jared has like 40,000. So
they're not doing me any good.
Yeah,
I don't talk to him.
You don't talk to him. It's like when you go to the Father and he says, I don't know you. They're like, we follow him, but he don't ever post it.
Hey, dude, but if you come to a show, I will talk to you all night.
This is true. I've seen him do it. I've seen him say, I'm like, where's Jared? Oh, he was over there talking to that old guy about how to rebuild a 1967 Volkswagen. I'm like, oh.
Tractor. That was a tractor.
Well, whatever it was. I don't know. I'm just there. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? He goes like, oh, he's telling me about
it was
this.
a whole new group that I didn't know existed. All these old dudes that buy these antique tractors and then rebuild them and go to tractor shows. And I was like, that's awesome. I got goals. I got goals for my future.
And listen, he's already come up with our entire retirement plan.
You can't tell anybody because somebody might steal it.
Never mind. Just say we're gonna have an old man band.
We are gonna have an old man band.
But we are gonna have an old man band.
All right.
So anyway, you're constantly trying to teach them because you want them to learn. So you're trying to give them this knowledge that you have, right? You're trying to give them this gift of knowledge, which is a phenomenal gift. The more you know. I mean, G.I. Joe's been telling us it for years.
Facts.
Or at least he used to tell us that. Now, I don't know what they tell us. What the new cartoons tell us.
It's not safe.
No, you have to listen. It happened today. Literally, my son's like, "Hey, I want to watch this thing." It was on Disney, and my wife's like, "Well, let me check it out first." Checks it out, and sure enough, it's got the woke culture in it, and it's got all this other stuff, and it's like literally teaching them that, hey, this is okay, and this. I'm just like, and it seems like it's innocent because it's about fire trucks,
Yeah.
But one fire truck can do both fire truck things.
It goes back to one of our prior podcasts that brainwashing starts at a very young age.
Not in my house. We inspect stuff.
I love it.
I'm sure there's still stuff that sneaks by that I didn't quite get, but anyways, what's been interesting and not to get any controversial stuff with the book, but I let a lot of people see the book, and I got friends from every different walk of life. I've met people along the way from literally every kind of thing you can think of, and I had an acquaintance of mine. I wouldn't call him a friend, but he wanted to see the book. I let him see the book. He reads through it, and he gets to the part where it's a little black girl at the end that kisses Butter on the cheek. He goes, "Why'd you make her a black girl?" I was like, "Because she was black in real life, because it's a true story. I think it's because you woke." I'm like, I don't think that qualifies as a woke thing. I think it qualifies as it's a factual book that was written about a factual person in a factual time.
Let's not make this harder than it has to be. It's true.
And he was literally like, "Well, why did you make her white?" I was like,
because she
wasn't white in real life. She was a little black girl that kissed him on the cheek. And he loved it, by the way, even though he was a little half Irish, half Italian, redheaded white kid. And it didn't dawn on him that it was anything other than this pretty little girl giving him a kiss on the cheek because he didn't care. I was like, so the fact that that's what you got out of this book tells me that I probably don't need to be around you anymore. Like, and it's not because I don't agree. I completely don't agree with your thought process there, but this was supposed to be this beautiful book about, I guess a positive version of a bully.
Yeah.
Like this whole time, like what you said, like, "Oh, I got this teddy bear behind my back that's big. I'm trying to give you something great." And you're scared of it the whole time. But then all of a sudden you get it, you're like, "Oh, man, that was awesome." You know?
It's so funny because I feel like if that guy had asked me, "Well, why is she a black girl?" I'd have been like, "She probably was." That's where I would have went. I was like, I mean, knowing Vinny, that's just what it was.
Well, let's see. Butter grew up in just outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and he was a minority there. So it's like, but to me, it was just baffling that was the first thought of like, well, why is it a black girl? Because it was,
Yeah.
But I mean, in a million years, whenever I was putting this book out, I never thought, and I guess I should have thought, knowing the world right now, but I never thought that would be a question. I never thought that anybody would care or even ask that, or think anything like that. So that was the first controversial thing that, that happened. And lo and behold, it's happened once or twice or two or three times from the opposite side too.
Yeah.
Where people were like, well, why'd you make the bully a black girl? Because they were concerned that the bully was
once
a
again,
black girl.
well, because
she was black, but she wasn't even really a bully. I'm like, that's the twist in the story.
That's the point.
That's the
point. That's
you got it. You're the winner. You know. and it's like, so it just baffles me. Like people try to take.
You were able to unravel the mystery of this 11-page, 43-word book.
Yeah. It literally baffles my mind. I'm like, it's just a book about a little boy who thinks he's going to get beat up, who ends up getting a little kiss on the cheek. That's what the whole thing is. That's it. There's no hidden agenda. There's no nothing. That's what it is. You know.
Whatever.
But I think because there's so much hidden agenda and everything now that people automatically assume that there's going to be a hidden agenda in there. So, yeah, it was a funny, you know, to see.
They just don't understand how surface level you are.
Yeah. I ain't trying to get down into the dermis, the epidermis, the semi-dermis, whatever it is. You got like 9 layers of skin.
Is there a semi-dermis?
I don't know.
Oh, did you just make that up?
I'm trying to sound smart again. I'm an uneducated 50-year-old man. But,
who hasn't made it.
I'm only 40, by the way, people. I don't know. This guy thinks I'm 50. I think I look pretty young for my age. I mean, I do got a little
especially for 50.
Yeah, for 50.
Yeah.
I look great.
So you look great for 50.
But anyways.
At least 10 years younger.
I look at least 10 years younger than that. But anyways, the book has been such a fun thing, and 99.999% of everybody that's read it has loved it, has enjoyed it. At least to my face, they've told me they loved it. Maybe they hated it behind my back, but to my face, they loved it. And, you know, I've sold, you know, quite a few books actually, and given away, you know, probably 5 times more than I've sold. But it's been a cool thing, man, just to see something to fruition, to have an idea that turned into a concept, that turned into a physical book. So I appreciate y'all letting, you know, and just so y'all know, I did not suggest this. This came from these guys that we should.
That's not true at all. That's all he talked about. Last 5 episodes, he's like, when are we going to talk about my book?
Jared is a liar. Anyway, yeah. So if you're out there today and you're trying to wonder, like, could you make your own kid's book? Well, you could. I have proof that if I can make something like that, what could you do? I'm an uneducated 50-year-old redneck from Perry County, Tennessee, who's dyslexic and can't even keep up with my numbers good. So what could you do if you used all that brain power you got? Open up that little thing between your ears and start creating something today. And like me, you could be an unsuccessful 50-year-old. One of these days, you could be just like me. And everybody's like, well, I got to go do something different right now. McDonald's, where's that?
Is there a place where they can go buy it?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, I'm still.
This
like
was the teaser.
This was the teaser.
No, I just think I'm figuring it out. I did start selling them, and then this is what I ran upon. It was costing me more than I was going to charge for the book to ship the book. No, to ship it.
Oh.
It cost me about $7 a copy to make it, but it was costing like $14 to ship it. And I was only going to charge $15. It was going to double my money on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, charge $7 to this. That way I get done. I got a little bit of money in my pocket. And I have, you know, the money left over to print the exact same 100 books again, you know. And so that was the goal. And then I was like, oh, by the way, shipping is going to cost you $15 as well. So now you're paying $30 for a kid's book.
Have you looked at loading it on Amazon?
Yeah.
But what they do is they don't put it inside of an envelope or nothing. They literally like slap the tag on the back of the book and send it out, right?
They come in one.
Oh, it's an envelope.
Little paper,
oh, is it?
Envelopes.
The ones that I always got the ones I'd get from Dolly Parton, well, they'd be wrapped in plastic, but then they would just be wrapped in plastic, and then they would just have the little sticker on the thing. But either way, that's the next adventure is finding out.
Well, I got all that information for you. So
that's why I love Jared.
There we go.
And then there's one other thing. Obviously, I'm making the cartoon now, which if it turns out good, we'll make sure to get your book done.
Yeah.
Because $1,000 is worth it, you know. The other thing I want to do is I want to make
especially when you're not trying to make any money off of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's just,
I'm just trying to. I need tax write off because I'm unsuccessful. But I want to turn these into like little plush like dolls. Like I'd love to be able to sell a whole package. Like you get the song, the dolls, the book, the little cartoon. Maybe it's like a QR code that you just download the cartoon onto your phone.
I want to bring back the records. Little 45s inside. As soon as I got my book in, I saw the size of the book. It's like, it fit a 45 record in it right there.
Yeah. But I just think it would be cool to have the little plush dolls. My kids we call them stuffies in my house. So they love having the little stuffies. So I think that'd be cool to have it with the book and you get a whole package. It's like you're not just buying just the book.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's
Love it.
fantastic.
Any other questions about my book? Anything you want to talk about?
When are you going to put out the scratch and sniff version of it?
Well, that's what I do. And as you can see, I've been putting tater tots in my pocket in here.
Putting tater tots in my pocket.
Also, I was outside. I got one overall strap done. You can tell probably a little swamp ass in there. You probably want to scratch and sniff
Deep
that.
in the swamp ass.
And Butter's scared, so you can probably scratch that and smell some fear. You know what the playground smells like when you go down that tunnel slide? Especially if I just went down and farted in it before you got in there. Oh, and then they got the rubber ball. You remember what those things smell like when you was in gym class and one of them smack you right in the face when you're playing dodgeball?
Your book doesn't smell very good so far.
Well, I got this trash can right here with some chocolate milk. Now, you know the chocolate milk smells good. When you first open up that chocolate milk, when you're in school and you open up, you're like, you take a drink of it. It's so sweet. Then I don't even know why we got diabetes, but we do. Anyways, the tater tots were in there. Here, we're walking outside. It's dadgum August, sweating, State Road Elementary School. But then you get slammed to get the bus. You maybe shit your pants a little bit. But then you get a kiss on the cheek from this pretty little girl. And you get on the bus, and you just have the biggest smile on your face.
And everything smells fantastic.
You mentioned reading this book, doing the audio for it. I hope you just explain the book, because that was way more entertaining.
That's the adult version of the book. Come back to this podcast when you want to hear the adult version. Yeah. So, anyways. All right, y'all. Make sure you go like, share, subscribe, add 40 stars. And then I'm going to leave you with this. Well, you don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here, because we got to end this.
What do you say about the old lady? An old lady who what?
If I could have done that in those talent contests when I was a kid, you know who was won the talent contest? The freaking yodeling girl. You know who wanted to listen to yodeling more than one song? Mule Skinner Blues. I'll never forget it. Every single freaking dadgum contest I was in, yodeler girl won. What's she doing now? Well, she's playing on the Grand Ole Opry. Her name's Natalie Stovall, and she's amazing. And she's anyways. Thanks, Natalie Stovall, for winning all the awards. Sonic Search for a Star. Go like our podcast. We love you. Refined life is unrefined.